attorney here in Southern California and what I like to call a legal writing enthusiast. Some people might say the word nerd. I say legal writing enthusiast. I've been a legal writer for 10 years, and over that 10 years, I've developed a very distinctive writing voice. So when you read a brief that I've written, you can usually tell that it's a Brooke brief. As you develop your legal writing skills, you're also going to develop your legal writing voice. Your personality will start coming out in your writing if you're lucky. General opinion seems to have it that legal writing is dull and tedious and, wooden and, dry, technical, boring. I could not agree less. I am a strong believer, and I strenuously object to that depiction, that characterization of legal writing. Legal writing is exciting and passionate and sweaty, and I never feel more like a lawyer than when I'm in the middle of making brilliant legal arguments in my writing. How are you going to get a court to rule in your favor if you haven't passionately argued it in your brief? You've got to do it. And you can write, I promise you, anybody can write in a way that's compelling and persuasive and witty and interesting. If you're surprising your reader, they're going to stay more attentive. They're going to be more attuned to what's going on in your brief and what you're trying to argue. Okay? So listen, I've listened to a lot of trial attorneys talk about developing a courtroom presence for jurors, right? So, and the mantra, the common thread in all of those talks has been, you have to be authentically you. You can't be anybody else. You can't be trying to be somebody else or you can't sit there and try to be Matlock or Perry Mason or Atticus Finch. You've got to be yourself. If you're not yourself, jurors are going to distrust you because they can tell you're not being yourself. So they're not going to trust the things you say. And I think the same is true for your legal writing. If you're trying to sound smart or put on airs or write in a voice that's not your own, it's way less persuasive. So you have to write the way that you think, that you talk, that you express yourself in other ways. You can also do it in writing. And are you Shakespeare? Great, be Shakespeare. Write a brief that's floral and romantic and full of Latin phrases. Are you Hemingway? Great, write a brief that's full of short declarative sentences and evokes extreme masculinity. Great. Are you weird like me? Are you quirky? Do you like movie quotes? Great, write a brief like that. So how do you develop this voice, this writing voice? How do you get there when every time you sit down at your computer, you feel paralyzed with fear and uncertainty and all that's staring back at you is a blank stage? And how do you get words onto the paper? All right, I have 3 games. These are games that I've played with myself, mostly because I'm a weirdo, but they really have developed my writing voice, and they have made me a better writer. They've made me feel more engaged with writing, and they've really made writing a joy. So I'm going to say these 3 games, and I hope that these 3 games can also be a joy for you. They can make writing joyful, and in the process, you're going to be becoming a better writer and better at expressing yourself in written form. Okay, game number 1. I call it the emotional roller coaster. Anytime you have a really strong emotion, sit down and write whatever legal thing you need to write right then. I promise you that emotion is going to translate onto the page into an impassioned plea for whatever you're asking for, okay? I have been known to do a thing like watch Steel Magnolias or P.S. I Love You, get to the point of being really tearful, and then go to your desk and start writing. Start thinking about what you need and what you want and why you want it and why it's not fair that you don't have it yet. I promise you're going to get some really good gold in your writing. And, then when you're in a little less emotional space, you can go back and temper it, and you can go in and tidy it up and make it better. But that raw emotion is going to be there. It's going to translate onto the page. Are you super angry at your boyfriend? Go write. Did you just have the best time of your life? Go write. Anytime you've got a big emotion, that's the time to write, because it's going to be easier to translate that emotion onto the page, and it's going to come through. Game number 2, I call it oral pleasure. And this is a game you can do on your own. It's also maybe better with a partner. Turn on the voice recorder on your phone, or turn on your video camera, whatever you want to do, and then talk through the issues. Have a conversation with an imaginary person in front of you or with your partner, and work through the issues. Play devil's advocate, list pros and cons, talk about what you want to, anything, like make crazy analogies. Imagine yourself in different scenarios. You could do the thing where you're imagining it, or you're an oral argument and presenting the thing to the court, and you might get some good gold out of different ways that you say things there. You might pretend that you're a professor lecturing to a big lecture hall. I like to sometimes pretend that my opposing counsel is sitting there in a chair that's much too small for him, and he's looking up at me, his lip is quivering, and I'm just giving him the business. And, I almost said orally, and that was going to be weird. That's going to be taking the analogy and the pun a little too far. And then, or maybe tell the story as if you're telling it to a room full of children, and do all the crazy voices, and really let your personality out and be weird. Then take that audio file or that video file, upload it to rev.com. It spits a transcript back out at you, and you've got golden nuggets to sprinkle throughout your brief, and it's just going to really, really punch up your writing and make it a lot better. Plus, it's going to be fun. All right, last one. I used to call it Road Rules Real World Challenge, but now I like a different show better. It's called Taskmaster, and it's British and silly, and I love everything about it. So what I do is I make the brief a game. I assign myself tasks to get done. Sometimes a task will be like, I'll go to dictionary.com and pick and see whatever the word of the day is, and my goal is to work that word into the brief somehow. That's why one of my favorite briefs of all the time has the word crocodilian in it. It's not a word I would have ever used normally, but it made it fun, and it made a challenge, and it made me think of my arguments in a way that I might not have thought of them otherwise. I also like to pick a movie or a franchise and just write every quote I can think of from that movie or franchise into the brief. I've done this with Princess Bride, inconceivable, or Clueless, as if, or Back to the Future, Great Scott. Pick something that's like fun and engaging, something you've seen a bunch of times, and work that in to whatever brief you've got going. Or I'll mess with the format of the brief. I'll write only in bullet point lists for a while. Or I will start every sentence with the next letter of the alphabet, so that my mind is engaged and I'm less focused and worried about what I'm saying and more worried about like what it looks like. And then I find that the writing starts flowing better, and I'm in a better position to write what really needs to be written. All of this stuff is silly and fun, and I almost never leave my brief like that. Like I didn't turn in the brief with like 27 quotes from Back to the Future. I just did it to help me get through the difficulty of writing and to make it more fun, more palatable, and then it leaves my personality on the page, as opposed to wooden, boring, technical writing that nobody is interested in reading ever. So this has been a bit longer of a video than I intended, but the point is, you are a unique individual with your own likes and your own personality quirks, and your writing should be the same way. It should be a reflection of that. And just because it's legal writing doesn't mean you can't express yourself and you can't have that personality out there. That's it. Make it a good day and go write something down.